What a life. It sounds like my son right now. Okay, I got 5 after 10. I want to thank everyone for signing on to the our, August CoC meeting. It's great to see some of your faces and see a lot of your different names, but it's good to kind of connect with everyone again. My name is Michael Wong. I'm the Executive Director of the Redevelopment Housing Authority, and I thought maybe we'll just go through introductions at this time. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first person there, Isaiah Minja. He's our new hire, Western Virginia CoC coordinator. He had to participate through a panel discussion interview process with the executive committee, in addition to having to go through individual types of conversations with several different members. So, but Isaiah has his master's in communication and social justice from James Madison University with an undergraduate in nursing. He's in the last couple years, 2 years, has worked with President View Homes, working with developmentally disabled and intellectually disabled individuals. He speaks 5 different languages, which is pretty cool. And growing up on the farm myself, I don't relate as much, but he talks about growing up on the farm and having to guard the farm animals from baboons and lions and tigers. I had to guard the farm animals from coyotes, ducks, and chickens. Anyway, please join me in welcome Isaiah. And Isaiah, would you like to say something too, please?
Oh, thank you for the introduction. And I just want to say I'm very, very excited to be part of this collaborative team, joining all of you. And I am very, very excited. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I know these are difficult times. I would love to have had an opportunity to visit and see all the good stuff you all are doing. But with COVID, that's probably not a good idea at this point, but we can, with technology and Zoom and all that, I look forward to start maybe scheduling meetings with some of you and just trying to figure out things that you think I could help do to help with this noble cause. So I'm very, very, very excited. And I look forward to eventually meeting all of you in person and working with you all. So thank you.
Thanks, Isaiah. And so I'm just going to, I have a list of people that's on the call, participants on the call. I'm just going to go down the list and have you all introduce yourself. That will help Isaiah and some of the members that don't know everyone else and maybe briefly explain the organization that you with. Wayne, would you want to start off? Wayne B. Hello, Wayne. Are you there? Why don't we go to Paul? Paul?
My name is Paul Rush. I work at the Mercy House as a centralized housing intake coordinator. I think I've worked with almost everyone here on the call, so it's just good to hear from everybody again.
Thanks, Paul. Miranda.
Hi, my name is Miranda Hulse. I work with First Step Domestic Violence Agency in Harrisonburg.
Avery.
Hi, good morning. Avery here from Phoenix Project. We're a small domestic violence agency in Warren County, and we serve folks here in Warren County in the town of Front Royal.
Thank you, Avery. Candy?
Hi, everybody. I'm Candy Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of First Step, and we are the domestic violence agency and shelter, and we serve Harrisonburg and Rockingham County. And I wanted to say, welcome, Isaiah. It's great to have you as part of the COC.
Let me see. Chris Monroe. You want to say anything? You're on mute.
Sorry. I'm Chris Monroe. I'm the housing specialist for Northwestern CSB. Welcome, Isaiah.
Thank you. Debbie Dart.
Hi, I'm Debbie Dart, and I'm Director of Choices, Council on Domestic Violence for Page County. And welcome, Isaiah.
Thanks, Debbie. Dana Scott.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm from Northwestern. I'm the Peer Housing Support Specialist. Hello.
Welcome. Let me see. Elizabeth.
Hi, I am the housing law attorney with Blue Ridge Legal Services.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let me see. Emily?
Sorry, I was having issues with my mic. I'm Emily McCarty. I'm the grants coordinator for HRHA and also work closely with Isaiah, the COC coordinator, as well as Laura Black, our HMIS coordinator.
Laura?
Well, I guess now that you know who we work with, happy to have Isaiah on board too. We all work for Michael and for the bigger COC as well, I guess in sort of that way. My job is working and reporting with data that's generated from the HMIS database that collects data with the different housing projects within the continuum.
You know, the truth of the matter is I really work for those people, so that's they make me work. Levi?
Hey, I'm Levi. I'm the housing specialist for Harrisonburg Rockingham CSB's new permanent supportive housing program.
We're very excited to have Levi on board and working with a very challenging population group. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Hunley. I am the housing coordinator for the Harrisonburg Community Health Center's Care Management Program, which is the program serving people living with HIV and AIDS.
Thank you, Rachel. Nikki.
Nikki Faidley, Executive Director of Strengthen Peers.
Sally.
Hi, I'm Sally Perry with Mercy House. We are a family shelter here in Harrisonburg, and we do rapid rehousing and prevention assistance as well. And we are currently running the rental and mortgage relief program as well. And it's nice to meet you, Isaiah.
They are a very busy organization right now, dealing with multiple different programs.
Yes, we're also doing the motel vouchers. I forgot to say that. So yes, we are busy, Michael.
Multiple programs. Kelly?
Hi, I'm Kelly Story. I'm with Family Promise in Shenandoah County. I'm the Associate Director.
Great. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you.
DJ? BJ, you muted right now. I don't know if you can. Okay, the Jay Lee. No problem.
I'm trying to help Sheila log on her computer.
Yeah, and I just sent the link again. It looks like some people are having trouble with the link, but I just sent 2 people a link right now, so hopefully they'll join us.
Great.
Okay, I'll go finish helping her.
Okay. Brandon Thomas.
Okay.
What's happening, guys? Just able to jump in. Sorry, we're late.
No problem. Happy you're here. Did I miss anyone? I'm sorry, my list kept bouncing around and people kept getting over. Jay Lee, did I miss you? Jay Lee?
Jay Lee's put a note up there that they're on their desktop and can see and hear everyone, but no microphone or camera.
Okay, well, glad you're here, and thanks for sending us a note. And as you all know, there is a chat line, so if there's having any problems, please chat to everyone, and hopefully we can respond accordingly. Quickly, some brief updates in regard to COVID-19. The Western Virginia CoC received $165,225 for COVID emergency response funds, and this is for emergency shelter only. Several different agencies in late June, early July, we went out for a very quick RFP process, we were able to fund all the participants that applied for funding. Hey, Oscar, good to see you. First Step received $6,000, Mercy House received $71,000, and Shenandoah Alliance received $42,000. Those funds were specifically for hotel motel vouchers and to help individuals be able to, who are medically vulnerable and could not stay in congregate type of shelter. We also received funding for congregate shelters. Open Doors received funding for $20,000. Thermal Shelter Front Royal, $25,434. And Rescue Mission out of Winchester, $21,250. So we're excited about that partnership, and I know that there's some challenges within each of the communities in regard to providing that congregate shelter services, and there are several meetings being scheduled to be able to address that. There was a meeting in the Harrisonburg-Rockingham area this Friday that they are looking at trying to support Open Doors being reopening the thermal shelter. There was a meeting, I think, next week, Friday, that's looking at assisting the Winchester Frederick area in regard to addressing the thermal shelter need there. And the only one that we do know that's kind of stable at this point is the Front Royal Warren County mission. They have a location set up and plan to be able to kick off in, I think, November. So that's pretty exciting to hear. We also received additional COVID-19 funding for rapid rehousing, a total of $213,567. Back in late May, early June, we went out for grant requests from grantees in the CoC, we were able to fund those, all the grantees that requested funding. AOE, First Step, Mercy House, and Shenandoah Alliance for Shelter. And so those funds were distributed to them. I think contracts have been signed with them too. In addition to that, as you all may have heard, we were successful with our VHSP grant. And I think all the grantees have been in the process of signing off on that grant. We got the highest level of funding that we've ever received in our VHSP money. So we got additional funds in regard to street outreach and some of the different areas to be able to support the challenge of addressing housing in COVID time. So those are all good news, but we all recognize that we need to continue to look at leveraging additional funds because monies can go very quickly in regard to the hotel, motel, and providing the thermal shelter services, rapid rehousing, etc. In fact, we has received notice that the Mercy House SAS have been starting to spend down a lot of their already allocated hotel funds. So I believe that we put in an additional request for 30-some thousand to extend the monies. We haven't heard anything on that, but stay tuned, we'll let you know. Any questions about the COVID-19 updates or the funding awards? I believe that we'll have it posted on the website in regard to the grantees, and we'll be doing a PSA in regard to that award very shortly. Be sending that out.
Michael, my understanding was that I do think that we will be receiving that additional funding for the motel. So I just wanted to report on that. I think that there was an email that came in from Aaron yesterday implying that we would be receiving that. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up. We've been informing people that August is going to kind of be the initial end date, but with this additional funding, we're going to hopefully carry out most of the higher vulnerability population into September, and hopefully to the end of September, maybe a little bit beyond that. Really kind of hoping that we can get people stretched out as far as possible until Open Doors is able to get something going. So just want to add that in there real quick.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? Briefly, committee updates and centralized intake committee.
Everything has been going pretty well. We've started to see kind of an uptick of phone calls. That was to be expected with the courts being back open and everything. Thus far, it's been going fairly well. Everything is kind of back to pre-quarantine levels of busyness. So we're wading our way through that. And we have started doing the expedats over the phone just to increase the number of the expedats performed on chronically homeless individuals. But other than that, there really have not been any significant changes since our last meeting.
Thanks, Paul. Best practices, Lynn had a conflict with today's meeting. She related that they have not had a meeting, I believe, since March, but they'll be scheduling a meeting very shortly in regard to some goals and objectives out of the strategic plan. I don't think does anyone else have any additional comments about best practices? Great. Compliance and evaluation, Sheila?
Yeah, we did meet, and we've scheduled 2 working sessions to happen in August and September to develop and implement an RFP process for VHSP, and just kind of update the HUD that we already have in place so that all the agencies understand how to apply, what the how to be in compliance, just so everyone has an opportunity to go for grant funding. So we hope to have, with the 2 work sessions that are 2 to 3 hours long, we hope to have something definite in place by October that we can roll out and share.
Great, thanks, Sheila. That was one of the issues that was discussed at our executive committee meeting, of the need to formalize or establish a process for granting the funds, especially for the VHSP funds. We have kind of like RFP process for the federal CoC funds. And one of the recognitions was that for community partners to be eligible grantees, we need to be able to get out to those partners what our standards are in regard to participation and being grant eligible. Some of these standards are HUD and Department of Housing Community Development standards that we just kind of establish ourselves. So this work group is going to be critical to be able to make sure that everyone has an understanding of how they can be able to access services and resources. Thanks.
Yeah, and Michael, I just wanted to say, I think out of that, when from the executive committee, that best practice is going to work on new members and bringing new members in. So we kind of work together with the compliance and evaluation to roll out and develop this process. So we'll be working hand in hand with best practices.
Yeah. And probably media advocacy will probably play a role in regard to making sure the information is shared and communicate to all localities within our CoC, which is a good segue. Laura, data and performance?
Yeah, so I've been busy doing data. The performance part, we will be meeting in the future. I still have not set that up like I was supposed to. But that is hopefully by the end of the week, I will have a time and date firmed up on that. But we have been busy. The point in time was wrapped up and submitted on a much later date. I guess that was the end of May. Yeah. And we had a 13% reduction from the previous year, 2019 to 2020, in the amount of people that were counted during the point in time. And really, we saw that reduction in shelters. The shelters didn't have as full of utilization as they had had the previous year. I thought that was interesting. I'm going to be working on getting all of these new reports up on the website and trying to put some graphics up here. We also just finished and submitted the community report that gives some numbers for DHCD as they request, and it tries to flesh out how many people we see in a year throughout the CoC. We also have a great big change in our CoC as far as participation. And what this really means is shelters that help us by sharing their data into the HMIS system then becomes visible homelessness instead of invisible. As far as when we're talking about who's out there and what's going on with them, then that demographic pool is shared and it becomes just so awesome. So Winchester folks, the rescue mission, thank you so much, Brandon. They're on board with us, and we're seeing that data. We're seeing more from Front Royal with the thermal shelter on board now. The Salvation Army in Harrisonburg for about a year now has been on board, and I got a phone call a couple of days ago from Winchester Salvation Army who also wants to join. And so that is getting us really in a great place. So we went from 13% using HMIS of singles to, I think it was 63% showing up in the system. So we're really going to be able to see a lot more about the people we're serving, which is great.
That is great news. Thank you, Laura. That's one of the biggest challenges we have in regard to our overall scoring within our CoC is our level of HMIS coverage. So it's good to hear that the agencies will start to participate. Oscar, anything from media advocacy?
Not at this moment. We have not met yet, so we're going to try for this month to meet.
Great, thank you. Built for Zero case conference, any updates?
We've had a few meetings with Shante with the national group behind Built for Zero, just kind of working on developing our own process. And we had originally done back in October, I believe, last year. Laura, correct me if I'm wrong on that. We had done kind of a self-assessment on where we were at with the process, and we were in okay shape, and little by little we are chipping away at that to make the process smoother, better data quality, and just making sure that we catch everyone who is chronically homeless so we can effectively get to functional zero.
I just wanted to add to Paul, the northern end for Built for Zero. Paul and I have discussed this, and we've discussed it at the executive level too, but it's very important that we get more agencies from the northern end of the CoC to participate in the Built for Zero case conferencing meetings. We've been successful of moving people off the list every month. We're real proud of that success. But I think if we can get more service agencies at the table during those Build for Zero case conferencing, it would be more effective. And I think people would feel like they're a part of the process, and they're going to see the clients that they serve move off that list. So I see that Wayne's here from Shenandoah Department of Social Services, so I'm excited about that. So the more that we can have social services and other agencies at that table during the case conferencing is very helpful.
Sheila, are those meetings scheduled? How do people access those meetings, or how can they access the meetings? Is the meeting schedule on the website, or because I know that has been meeting kind of inconsistently lately, or not on a regular basis, not inconsistent.
Well, the last couple of months we've met, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, the first Wednesday of the month.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so I've been sending that to my local Department of Social Services, and I think Paul's been sending out reminders, and I have too. But if we could put it on the website that we're going to meet the first Wednesday of every month, and Paul and I'll try to make sure that we're consistent with that. But it's I think that the agencies will find coming to the case conferencing, there'll be, I think coming to the overall CoC meeting, they didn't feel like they could participate all the time. And I think this is a great way for participation from all agencies.
Yeah, and I do want to echo that. I feel that since we started doing the more regional approach, we've had a little bit more participation. And it's just because if you look at our Built for Zero list, and this is just due to kind of gaps in the data, it's very heavily skewed towards the southern region. Pretty much have like 100 people, 70 of them are in the Harrisonburg-Rockingham area. And as we're working on getting better, obviously the northern side of the list is expanding as well. But I think doing these regional meetings helps more of the agencies just feel like they're more involved, which is awesome. And we really, I think putting it up on the website will help tremendously. And also, I would be more than happy to show you my email list that we use in order to schedule those meetings. And if anyone on this call wants to join in on those, by all means, please shoot me a quick email or send me a message here in the chat so we can get that set up.
Great. Any other questions about Built for Zero?
I would like to just mention.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would just like to mention that it is important to remember that these meetings do talk about real people with real names attached to them. So there is some confidentiality paperwork that needs to be done for anybody who does choose to join these groups and participate in that. And if you're going to send a representative from your agency, please be aware that if you're the one who signed that confidentiality agreement, that you are sharing that information with your representative as well, so that they remember that, again, these are real people and we need to make sure we're protecting their information. Thank you.
Okay. I briefly stated a little bit earlier, we did have executive committee meeting. Well, we've had several different meetings in regard to one in regard to the grant allocation and the funding allocation, but the other one is in regard to the follow-up in regard to our strategic plan and the goals and objectives. So as you know from our June meeting, we kind of reviewed our strategic goals and kind of reaffirmed our next year goals. At the executive committee meeting, we talked about those goals and talked about how we're going to achieve them. Again, we kind of reinforced the need for committees to kind of do majority of the work. And so that was kind of the task, was to kind of focus through the committees in regard to those objectives. So we again need your support and participation and participating in some of the committees, because through your input and energy and work, we'll be able to meet these objectives, which will help not only us, but the communities in regard to achieving success in regard to end homelessness. One kind of spend most of our time talking on needs and issues and challenges coming up within our local communities. And we looking at, what are some of the current challenges that we are facing due to COVID-19. What do we see as potential emerging issues that we see as pluses or minuses as we go through this process. This will help us be able to prepare and understand and maybe be able to help each other as we kind of go through this pandemic together in regard to meeting our mission. And so the way we kind of thought we'll be able to do it is we'll have individuals from some of our different community areas kind of speak and kind of describe what they are seeing locally in regard to homelessness, needs, and then any long-term issues or trends that they see potentially coming up. So I'm going to put Paige and Shandor on the spot first. We have Debbie, Sheila, BJ, Jaylee, Wayne B. So each of y'all can kind of give your perspective in regard to what you see going on in Paige and Shandor. Wayne, you could start if you want to. Hello, Wayne.
I see in the chat that he doesn't have a microphone, but he is typing out some messages over here in the chat bar.
Okay. He stated that he's heard from local landlords that many people behind on rent and face possible eviction when they are able. And as you all know, the eviction moratorium was extended by the governor for additional period of time here just recently. Sheila, anything else you want to add or other things that you see?
Well, what we're seeing is that we're getting evictions and people that owe back rent, but it's not necessarily related to COVID-19. They're behind on their rent back to November and December. So, we're struggling through those to see if, trying to do some diversion to see if landlords are willing to take a hit for some of those months or looking at other community resources. But, it's unfortunate, but a lot of them that we've gotten so far aren't really related to COVID-19. So we're trying to struggle through them. We're having some problems finding housing that's available. So although we're getting the referrals, we're struggling with trying to find the housing to put them in there permanently. So we've done, in the month of July, we did like 3 rapid rehousing and 4 or 5 new prevention. But the community funds that we have just for Shenandoah County, we went through those pretty quickly because of back rent that wasn't related to COVID-19. Yeah.
So it sounds like a number of the individuals that are coming in for assistance are not eligible for the rent and mortgage prevention program run through People Inc. and Mercy House.
Right. Or it's correctly, or it's 5 or 6 months behind. So they were behind before COVID-19 ever started. So, and as far as utilities, they haven't started with the disconnects yet. So we're just looking at that case by case to try to help with that with community funds. But I think that it eventually it'll peak, and that, like Paul said, we're seeing more calls through centralized intake. So I think that hopefully our rush with the emergency shelter operations it's went down. So, we'll have more requests for prevention and rapid rehousing. So Oscar's done a great job at moving those people out of the motel into permanent housing. So currently we don't have anybody in a motel. I'm almost afraid to say that because this afternoon it could break loose, but currently we have no one in a motel.
That's the best news I heard all day.
Yes.
Great. Let me see. Who else? BJ, you want to add anything else?
I think Paul and Sheila pretty much covered everything, but we have been getting several calls as well on intake. People are under the assumption that when they call, we place them in the housing that day. So they get a little discouraged when you explain to them how the program exactly works. And some of them are getting misleading information, whether it be from their local Department of Social Services, a caseworker from another agency, but they're telling them to call us, and they're under the impression we're placing them into housing that same day. But the evictions are pretty much before COVID that we are getting phone calls for. I had a few this morning that are going to court tomorrow. So they'll probably be extended like you were just talking about. But other than that, it's still the same old show.
Thank you all. Debbie, Jacqueline, Paige, any trends, issues, emerging issues that you see? Want to share with the group?
Well, Jacqueline posted on the chat that we're hearing of evictions not related to non-payment of rent. Those are primarily because of behavior issues, or they're not following the lease. So we've had some of those come up, which makes it difficult. And a lot of people are not able to find employment in this area. So it makes it even more difficult for landlords to consider folks as tenants, because they want to know they have some income, even if we're assisting with rapid rehousing. So those, and then still transportation is a big factor in our county. So those are kind of, we're having a little more difficulty putting people into rapid rehousing right now.
Thank you. And you do have a new housing project coming up, right? Local area.
Is that with People Inc.?
Yes.
Well, I haven't heard as much about it in a while now. That's my understanding, and I hope it comes through. I think it's kind of been out there that it's going to happen, and then it wasn't going to happen. I think there were some issues with getting the town to agree with some of the things that they needed. My understanding is it is going to happen. I don't know when or when. I don't know that it's been started, but if it has, I don't know when completion would be. But it would certainly be an asset to Page County.
Michael, I think something's wrong with your microphone.
Yeah.
Is this still in? Oh, did we drop him?
We lost him.
Oh, he's still there, but we can't hear him. Huh.
May have to exit and come back.
And somebody text him and let him know that we can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
some feedback or something. I got a sign said there was a feedback problem and I got muted. Who knows? Winchester Frederick, any feedback in regard to your community, Oscar?
With the Winchester, we're seeing the same thing that Sheila was mentioning, that a lot of the evictions are due to non-payment for previous, before COVID quarantine started. With the rapid rehousing, a lot of the clients do not have any income, so it's going to be harder for them to be approved for units. A lot of landlords are looking at the going forward, how are they going to pay for the rent? So that's making it a little bit difficult for clients that do not have any income. Most of the landlords that I work with are okay with just, for people having the disability and being able to manage that, even if it's, less than 700, they're okay with that. But if they have no income, that's when it's very hard.
What are you seeing from street outreach at this time? Are you seeing an increase in numbers in regard to homeless individuals?
At this moment, I know that Cheryl is actually making contact with a lot of clients. I know she has 5 or 6 people that she's working with at this moment. So she's working on doing all the information on HMIS so that we can also have him on the Built for Zero list for when we do case conferencing.
Chris, how's your permanent support housing project going? Are you seeing an increased number of referrals or demand?
We are just constantly bombarded with people seeking housing. Get between 5 and 10 calls a day. Usually my voicemail is full of people when I come in. We don't currently have any openings. We're serving probably in all of our programs, state and federal, we're probably serving well over 100 individuals and families with children. So yeah, we're plugging along. We're keeping, trying to keep our people stable, keep them in housing. We always have a certain number of people that are facing eviction, and we're trying to work with them as well. But yeah, we see a steady need for permanent supportive housing in our experience.
Thanks, Chris. That's a different looking Brandon that I see out there.
So Brandon and I are tag teaming. I was in a meeting to begin with, and now he's had to jump out to go to another meeting. So I'm filling in. So it's what we have to do to get everything covered here, right?
Amen.
But I'll tell you, here at the Restoration, we are focused right now. All of our numbers are up. We're full at all of our facilities every night. We've shuffled some people around, even took another property and have started using it, moved some of our guys who are working full time to make that into some transitional housing, which opened beds here, which same day that we moved them there, we filled those beds here. Our ultimate goal right now is we want to open up something that basically was what we were doing at the Armory. There's no day shelter here. There's no 24/7 shelter here in Winchester. And we're facing increasing. We've got a gentleman who's just come in here now. We worked with him at the Armory, really got him some care. Problem is he can't climb stairs. He's in pretty serious health issues. So we don't have a bed for him. So we're now developing a plan today to figure out what do we do. Does it mean we clear out what we've had to do for one resident? We actually had to turn an office over and make it a bed because we have 3 residents right now with stage 4 cancer. So they're going to be here until they go into hospice. And they've all come straight from the hospital to us. So there's no way to move them forward. So that's our focus right now. We are fully into HMIS now. Yay, made some major progress there. But it's that need for a 24/7 emergency shelter. And we've actually been working pretty hard on that. finding a location, and a location that our officials in our town would like to allow us to utilize and not prevent us from utilizing. So, you know, all of our food distributions numbers have tripled. We're serving a lot of families that we've never seen before. We expected that. Meals are the same way. Our community meals, our free showers, free laundries, all of our numbers are way up. So that's kind of our update here. We're just chugging right along.
Yeah. High demand, high need, and trying to figure things out on the fly.
And most of the individuals we're working with have serious mental health issues. So we have to get those solved, the substance abuse solved, before we can even really look at a rapid rehousing, right? I'm not going to refer them over to Oscar, because that's wasting Oscar's valuable resource and time, because they need a higher level of care. And that's where the Armory was beautiful. We were able to get those people connected with services and start treating them there. Then we brought them into our programs. You know, and we've actually had some really good success getting these guys jobs and really starting to move them forward. But having that initial platform is what we're needing. We're getting ready to go into winter, and we're working really hard to figure out how do we we've got the manpower, we know we can do it. We proved it at the Armory. Let's just get it done.
Great. Avery put a note out in regard to the Phoenix project. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Avery, or if you can connect online too, but
no, I don't think I have anything else to add. I just tried to be as clear as possible with our role here in Warren County. And also we do send a lot of folks through the centralized housing process. So I'm always looking for feedback just to make sure that we are following the right procedure and protocol. And if we're not, please let me know so that I can make sure that that we're not causing undue difficulty for anybody else, any of you all in the system.
Thank you. Anyone else from Winchester, Frederick, want to talk? Mandy, Miranda, do y'all have any additional comments? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We are not doing walk-ins currently with centralized intake. We're doing them by appointment only. We are still getting traffic, so I am doing them by appointment or via phone. We are getting a lot of traffic as far as phone calls with our general mailbox for centralized intake. And then of course, I'm still working with Paul and BJ. So if I do get somebody and I'm getting them in my voicemail, or if they're coming and walking or sending our general mailbox, I just go ahead and do the intakes on the phone. We are receiving a lot of traffic as far as our tenant-based rental assistance. I am very, very busy with that. I'm getting a lot of referrals. I also get a lot of referrals from our public housing authority in Winchester. They have pulled quite a bit of people off of their wait lists lately. I think one of them just pulled like 10 people off. Ironically enough, our people are finding housing up here. So I've been extremely busy with both of those. Now I was talking to Sheila yesterday. I do still have some people, I've had clients for like 6 or 7 months that have not found housing. But then I have, here lately for the last couple months, people that are finding housing. So hopefully with the new July laws, we have a huge project up here, Pagebrook, that owns like half of Winchester. So hopefully with the new July laws in effect, they weren't accepting assistance. They were kind of discriminatory in the fact that they wouldn't take assistance as far as security deposits and first months. I think they were kind of burned with some people. They were putting people in there, taking the security deposit, and then the people wouldn't pay anymore. So they were kind of against that. I don't think there was any real case management or anything like that. It was kind of, okay, here's assistance and then bye. But Of course, they'll still have to go through the credit and criminal, but I mean, we do have some clients that would fit those types of criteria. So hopefully that will open up a lot more homes for the clients to choose from. So other than that, we're just really busy up here. I think it's going to become a lot busier after September. We're going to see a lot more towards the homelessness side as far as the evictions. They still continued the utilities through August up here as far as our local utility companies. We finished our COVID-19. We had a grant for the utility assistance, but I feel like, I'm not for sure how much there is out there, but as far as the rent, I think those COVID-19 grants helped carry some of the people as far as the rental assistance, and so did the utilities. But I had someone come yesterday, just showed up for utility assistance. So I think that it's going to be short of a nightmare here in the coming months as far as the eviction rates and utilities and stuff like that. So I think this is just the calm before the storm, and we're just seeing some of the average people that are just looking for housing. This isn't even beginning of what we're going to see.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I can't really say that this is a calm. It seems like it's been more than a calm.
Yeah, it's not. It definitely has been calm up here, but this is the calm before the potential storm that we're in.
If this is the best it's gonna be for a while, maybe. But thank you. It is kind of encouraging to hear that there is some opportunities for housing there if subsidy assistance is available. So that's exciting to hear that housing opportunities, because Winchester, Frederick was a very tight rental market. So seeing that y'all are able to get some housing people place is good to hear. Harrisburg, Rockingham, got a couple people on the call still. Candy, you want to give some input from your perspective?
Okay, so I can talk about what's been going on at First Step. We are a communal living shelter, and so we have really limited the number of households we're putting into the shelter, and we're using a local, an alternative shelter, which is the hotel, to help with our households. It's interesting, when we did the point in time count in January, the beginning of this year, we started to slow down specifically with survivors with kids. And that trend continued through June, but July, our calls with survivors who have children, it was huge. We just really started to fill that up. I just did the numbers for July. In July, we sheltered 12 households, and of those 12 households, we had 17 children, which we generally, in the course of a year, shelter anywhere from 40 to 50 children. Last year was a little less because it was slow. So we're almost at, we're close to half of what we do for the year. We have been really lucky. Miranda's worked really hard and gotten some of our households into some housing. She's been able to find a couple of places. We've been using our rapid rehousing, and that's good. But I would say one of the trends that we're finding is that it's longer. We're having to help people longer with rent. It's more difficult to be able to do the step down. She's been able to do that with some, but we are working with survivors that are having difficulty finding jobs. We've worked with several survivors over the last several months that are pregnant. I mean, it's just, not only do we have the pandemic, we have the financial crisis, and we just have lots of other things that are happening. I agree with Mandy. I think it's going to get worse. I think it's pretty bad right now, but having worked at the shelter during the financial crisis of 08, 09, I know how bad it got then. And, now we were filling up every bed in the shelter, and I can't do that anymore because of the health crisis. So I am specifically very concerned about that. We have pieced together some money through the BHSP or the COVID funding that we've gotten, plus some other grant funding. And I think that we can continue through maybe November in sheltering people, but you know, we're going to need additional funding for hotels. So I'm hoping more funding will become available as time goes on. It just really depends on how many people we have in the hotel. But just so you all know, that's kind of what we're looking at. And of course, I know you all are facing this as well, but our survivors with kids, both of the survivors that we have that we are sheltering and the survivors that we have just moved into housing, they also have the additional situation of school being all virtual and figuring out what daycare looks like, what childcare looks like, what schooling looks like. And so we do have a child and youth advocate. So she's spending quite a bit of time working with the survivors that we have both in shelter and who have just recently moved out or have been, we've been providing rapid rehousing assistance with to try to help them in figuring out that, but we're kind of at a loss. We're having them do applications for all the programs that are available in Harrisonburg, but what we know is there's a lot of people that are in need of those daycare services, childcare services. So that's going to be a real struggle. And we just had at our staff meeting yesterday, we just had a conversation about it, and we're, that's a big thing that's going to be part of the conversation. And also our children's and child and youth advocate has also been in touch, I know, with the schools, the people that are working with the McKinney-Vento Act to try to figure out how we, make sure that kids are getting the services they need that are in the shelter. So those are just a couple of the things. I don't know if there's anything that I've missed that Miranda, who is our full-time housing advocate, wants to talk about. As always, finding housing is an issue. Miranda, is there anything you want to add that I missed?
Just to really exaggerate the point that you just said, that finding housing is become really hard. I don't know if it's because evictions are slowed or if it's because people aren't renting because the students, they were waiting for the students to come back. I don't know, but just trying to find housing for people has been really difficult. And then, of course, we have a lot of our clients that have previous evictions or low credit scores that are already a problem when they're looking for housing. And then now they're also struggling to find employment, so they don't have that income. So getting them approved for housing has been really hard. That's all I really have. I think everything else you've covered.
Are these mostly are these 2-bedrooms, 3-bedrooms, 1-bedroom units that you struggling, or is it all units that you struggling to find housing?
I mean, I think in general, there's just not as much available that I'm seeing right now, but a lot of the 1-bedroom is really difficult to find a 1-bedroom right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Miranda. Nikki, you want to talk about street outreach in Council Walking? And you can pay Shandor too while you're at it.
Sure. So for the most part, our street outreach looks like kind of a larger outreach event once a week at our community place. It's just a really great opportunity to see as many people as possible. We're starting to do a weekly drop-in at a Rise in the near future in Page. They're going to be reopening their day shelter here soon. I'm sure there's a specific date. I just don't remember what it was. We're struggling a little bit more with an effective outreach strategy for Shenandoah County. I was going to follow up with Sheila about that in, offline somewhere. But in Harrisonburg in particular, we're seeing a lot of the same people, people who we've seen on the streets for several seasons now, several years. We've had some real successes. I mean, we've had some people who have struggled for a long time with substance use and mental health challenges who have turned a corner and decided that they wanted help and they wanted to change their lives. And in a lot of those situations, it's been mostly people being able to get back into housing with family and friends who have taken a chance on their recovery and agreed to let them back into their home. And we've had a lot of success with that, because then they're in a situation where they're kind of responsible to somebody else. and not just kind of in their own little apartment where, you know, friends end up coming over and things kind of get out of hand. So we've really seen a lot of diversion with people who've decided to embark on recovery. We've had some folks succeed in getting housing at Oxford House. Again, you know, that provides that kind of added structure to help avoid some of those behavioral challenges for people who have histories of substance use and well, substance use in particular. And then vouchers have been really important to getting some folks housed. We have also at the same time seen people who have been housed and who have lost their housing as a result of those types of behavioral challenges. In particular, you know, we all know that our homeless communities are very tight knit. And so if somebody gets housed, they end up, you know, letting a bunch of other people crash there. And that's often a violation of rules of their housing. And so it's been very unfortunate to see people who were very, very difficult to house, and we finally, you know, got them housing, just for them to end up losing it because they weren't, you know, they just weren't able to follow rules.
Disconnected. There we go.
You know, especially because, you know, they were trying to help out other friends. So, yeah, the other thing that we're seeing a lot of is people coming out of incarceration into homelessness, and that's always been frequent. We see it a lot because we do so much outreach in our jails. But we've been able in most cases to be, you know, to help people with getting employment, kind of getting things together. It's just the hardest part is the fact that there haven't been shelters in Harrisonburg or Shenandoah or Page. And so people are trying to start their life again with, you know, getting a job and getting things together, and they're doing so in a tent. So that's really, really hard. And that's when you see people, you know, really kind of scrambling to find a couch, a friend, you know, even if it's not the best situation, someplace to be able to rest their head so that they can work. So getting those shelters back up, getting open doors back up is going to be a really nice relief.
Thanks, Nikki. Sally, you want to give any input?
Yeah, I would just echo what a lot of what everybody else was saying, and especially Candy's point about not being able to step down in assistance that we're providing to families. Our shelter, we weren't able to move very many people out of shelter while everything was in quarantine and downtime. And so we're starting to see some movement there and getting some people rehoused, but the whole employment piece has been really tough because there's so many people who haven't been able to get back to work or who were working and still aren't back full time. And so it's been hard for us to step down that assistance, which is something that we have been fairly consistent with for a long time. So we definitely have been extending people out longer, and we anticipate that's going to continue happening. We are seeing more phone calls coming through for the rental relief program. So as any of you all are working with people who are seeking that assistance, have them call us even before they go to court. They don't have to go to court to be eligible for that. And what we're afraid of is that we've had a bit of a slower start in that program than we had anticipated. And a little bit my fear there is that people are holding off longer because they think they've got more time. And it'd be a lot better to go ahead and address it now if they're reaching out to our hotline on that now. Even with that being said, though, we are still spending around $10,000 a week on that program. So people are accessing it, they are utilizing it. I've been very, very surprised pleasantly about how well landlords have wanted to work with this program and are willing to drop a portion of arrearages in order to continue working with the client, or even willing to map out a payment plan to move forward with the client, because those are the two options that we have to work with that program. That we can only do several months back and then 1 or 2 months forward, but the landlord has to be willing to either drop a portion or do a payment plan. And so landlords have really been amazing in that. And like I said, we have been averaging about $10,000 a week. I anticipate that is going to go up as these moratoriums are lifting. But I also anticipate that there's going to be more need for this program as now we move into the school program or into the school year, because I'm already receiving phone calls from people wondering how the program works because they're going to have to stop going to work. Their children are going to be home full time for schooling. They don't know how they're going to manage an income or employment at the same time because there's no daycare options for them alongside of actually, schooling the children as well. So it's not just sending your child to a daycare somewhere. It has to be the option of being able to actually get online and do their schoolwork and do all of that. So I expect there's going to be more of an increase in that. And we are wondering the same thing. How do we manage that with our families in the shelter who are trying to find housing? And no matter how much assistance we're providing, landlords still like to know that a household has some kind of income so that when our assistance ends, they've got the means to take it over on their own. So it's really tough to kind of push families to find house or employment when we know that their children are at home and we don't have an alternative for the children while that's happening. So it's just really kind of an unsure time for everybody. I think that everybody else has pretty much said the same thing. We're all kind of in this spot right now where it's not calm, but the storm feels like it's going to get worse soon. So I think you all said that the right way earlier. So just knowing that we're going to be spending more money on that assistance moving forward, and knowing that we received more funding this go around for rapid rehousing and getting that additional COVID funds really kind of helps in that, because it feels like I don't have to restrict how many households we're pushing through that program, because I know that the more funding is there to help support that extra assistance. So that is a plus, I believe. But I think that's about it that I've got. So, oh no, last thing. We have also been pleasantly surprised with the number of people that we've been getting out of the motels into housing. And that has a lot to do with OCP and Open Doors working with those households. I know that OCP has done a lot of housing search and one-on-one case management with those households. So they've really been doing a lot of work in that area, and it has helped a lot. Your 100 households campaign, Michael, has been coming into play here and really helping out with our relation, because a lot of people have been coming through and getting those vouchers. So it's been really good to get some of those households out of the motel and into their own place, and hopefully keep them stabilized moving forward. So
Thanks, Sally. Elizabeth, you want to talk about from the Blue Ridge Legal, what y'all seen in regard to everything going on with COVID? Can you hear me? Elizabeth, are you there? She may be unable to get on. Maybe she can sign on here in a little bit. Levi has been just started July 1st with the Hellsborough Rockham CSB in regard to our new permanent supportive housing grant. You want to kind of give an update, Levi?
Sure. We are one of a number of CSBs who received another wave of grant funding to establish a permanent supportive housing program through the Community Services Board here in Harrisonburg-Rockingham. And we have 30 possible housing situations where we can help with 25 vouchers in collaboration with HRHA. And then we have 5 that are from the Department of Behavioral Health specific vouchers to do some scatter site housing in Harrisonburg-Rockingham for people with serious mental illness, chronic homelessness. And what we've got since July 1, we've got 5 people through the intake process for our PSH program, and are actively doing a housing search with 2 individuals who have gone through the mainstream housing choice voucher process and have a voucher in hand. So a lot to lift at the beginning. We've had to create a lot of this and navigate this program through HUD rules that HRHA has to play by, and we're running through with DBHDS with behavioral health and all their rules and regulations to get that started. And now the fun part, finding an apartment or a townhouse here in Harrisonburg, Rockingham, that's within the payment standard. That's rather challenging at the moment when you have a major university that tends to take up a grand majority of the properties in the area, and market rents are based off of not necessarily that individual's income, but hopefully their parent in wherever can pay a higher rent. So rather challenging to find a place right now for these individuals, and navigating that on top of navigating a landlord being willing to work with a rather challenging individual who has serious behavioral health issues. Yeah, a lot to lift at the beginning, but fun to collaborate and with HRHA and to extend that pull to met with Reagan McManus over at Strengthen Peers, and working with our community place to do a little bit more of a teamwork approach housing some of these folks, because they cross a lot of lines across many different organizations.
Thanks, Levi. Make sure you connect with Chris Monroe from the Northwestern CSB, because he's been running Bill Permanent Supportive Housing Program for, I'm not going to say how many years, but it's been a number of years, Chris, that you've been working on that.
It's 4 years as of July 1.
So he can give you a lot of insight in regard to making that.
We'll be glad to collaborate and to help in any way we can.
Great.
And that's the benefit of being in the COC. You get those linkages too.
Yeah.
Rachel, anything from you want to give from Valley Aids?
We are in a unique position right now. We have about 100 clients, and at this moment, every one of our clients is housed, which for those of you who know where I come from, I don't know what to do with myself. But we are seeing of course, some instability in terms of income and some things like that. So we're trying to work within the HOPWA, sort of the ways in which they've relaxed some of the standards and things like that, to make sure that people are staying where they're living, working on HOPWA and trying to make sure people are safe where they are. And then in terms of the other things, we are still, although our office is technically closed to the public, we're trying to work with as many clients over the phone and through telemed appointments and things like that as we can, but we are still open by appointment for testing for anyone who needs HIV testing and all of that. So yeah, so it's an interesting time. We're trying to make sure that our clients are served, and that working towards, or actually really combating against the sort of isolation that everyone is feeling, especially because many of our clients are alone and things like that. So we're trying to reach out when we can and make sure everybody is safe where they are.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm going to try to reach out to Elizabeth again. I don't know if she can get online, but give you one last time, Elizabeth, to see if you can. Because it's always good to hear from Blue Ridge Legal and go to their perspective and go to evictions and challenges. But maybe if not, we can get her to give us an update through the notes at a later time. Okay, it does seem like there were also emerging trends in regard to the impacts in regard to COVID. Housing continues to be a challenge in regard to accessing available housing. Also, the issue in regard to employment and just the uncertainty of the employment, the uncertainty of the schools, and the child care issue. I know that's becoming an issue even within our organization, HOHA, in regard to staff being able to deal with child care in school. So that's becoming a challenge for us to figure out. Thank you everyone for participating in this discussion and giving us insight. We'll probably have another one here in about 3 or 6 months to see if there are different trends and help us form our strategies to be able to assist all COC participants in regard to moving forward. With that being said, the next agenda item is really kind of talking about training needs for this next year. And we are kind of committed to trying to do 2 to 3 training events, working closely with best practices in regard to needs or topics that could help us. In the past, we've done trauma-informed care. We've done in regard to working with youth homelessness. Some of the other proposed agenda items that are training topics we could bring in is like racial equity, which is could we use of tools to be able to evaluate our programs and services to ensure that there's not a desperate impact in regard to how our policies are established. So I threw out some ideas, but I want to hear from the group in regard to their thoughts or needs that will help us be able to navigate the future.
I know here at our CSB, we actually have a group talking about racial equity, and the group Race Forward has provided a bit of a framework for evaluating policies and procedures to flush out that disparate impact possibility. So there's a training group, Race Forward, and a possibility of a tool to use that they've developed on a national scale.
I would just second any type of racial equity training that had come up in our CoC grant application last year, and it's the first time that they had put a tool up showing racial equity within CoCs and asked CoCs to look deeper into that. I know that's something Laura's been looking at, and I just saw, I think a week or two ago, they just came out with information for CI and racial equity. So it does seem like this is very understandably something HUD is looking at and going to continue looking at. And while our racial equity report from last year did seem to indicate that we were being equitable as far as providing services within different demographic groups, I would just want to make sure we're continuing to look at that and updating our policies as best as we can to ensure that we continue to be equitable with our services.
Another suggestion might be to provide training and just how to work with people who struggle with substance use and mental health challenges. It could be, something along the lines of verbal de-escalation, or just understanding mental health issues better, understanding substance use better, just to kind of, we all work with people who have these challenges. So how do we do a better job of it and improve our quality of care so that we really encourage people to move in a different direction and improve on those behaviors?
Low-hanging fruit would be the new VSPDAT version 3, just to go over that as a group. That would take like far less more effort than racial equity.
Indeed.
Which I will say that the one thing about the new VSPDAT, it is a little more trauma informed in its approach, and actually takes into account some special questions on youth homelessness in regard to sexual identity.
Are we adopting a new version? Do we need to start doing a new version of VSPDAT?
I think we probably have to go through the centralized intake process and make sure that we adopt it and also coordinate. It was initially adopted through our Built for Zero and then incorporate into a centralized intake. And I don't know if they have really looked at the incorporating or moving forward with the new version 3. So definitely something that we need to look at if there's an updated version. So that's a project for Paul and to be able to kind of look at, and I guess Sally and also Sheila in regard to the Built for Zero initiative.
We'd also need to update the HMIS to accurately reflect that and have it calculate within the system.
Great.
It will
Elizabeth
take some time.
just sent me an email, and I'm just going to read it to y'all. She can hear it, but her microphone isn't working. They've been very busy with evictions. The majority of her cases are not COVID-19 related. They had a big influx of cases where the landlord just wants the tenant out, and she's not sure if landlords are just trying to sell properties or what. They have several evictions based solely on a 30-day notice. They also have a lot of issues with courts not knowing how to handle the COVID-19 related issues. Specifically, judges are unclear on how to handle the new laws and orders, and we've had a few cases where our clients have been denied access to court due to COVID-19 reasons, and judgment has been entered against them anyway. The biggest issue right now is there's nowhere for people to go. They have clients who are being evicted due to no fault of their own, and they just can't find another place to live. All of our current cases are in Rockham, Harrisburg, and Page County. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that update.
I just want to throw a little advertisement out there. Our office, Strength and Peers in Harrisonburg, we have a computer lab. So if any of you all have someone who needs to use a computer and internet and fax and scan and all those capabilities for housing search or employment search, they can come to us. It's by appointment. We don't want to have more people in there than we have space for safely with 6-foot distancing. But we do have that available. Before people could go to the library, that's no longer an option. Our computer lab is. And they can get help while they're there.
Thank you for saying that. I do actually have someone that I'm working with now that was just asking me yesterday about computer access. So that's good to know.
Any other suggested topics for training for this upcoming year? Racial equity, VSPDOT, alcohol substance abuse, mental health issues. Any other trends or issues that y'all see that would be helpful?
One other thing that had come up on the CoC grant last year, I just don't know if this needs to be a training or just more of a collaboration with our workforce agencies, but that had been a new set of questions on the CoC grant last year. I mean, it didn't account for a ton of points, but you know, a number of points, and just asking how our CoCs are working with and collaborating with workforce development and connecting clients with workforce resources. So again, I don't know if that needs to be a training where workforce comes in and just sort of talks to us all about how to maneuver that process. So providers can help their clients access those services better, or if that's just something we need to look at connecting with them better. I'm not sure if it'll be on the grant again this year or not, especially given the current climate with COVID, but that was just an interesting thing that had popped up last year, along with youth homelessness, which we were aware was going to be predominant on the grant, but that was another piece that emerged as well that HUD didn't seem to be talking about as much leading up to the grant.
And if I remember correct, there was also questions about LGBTQ issues, yes, and how the community is responding and the CoCs responding, yes, and all policies associated with that. And so that's also could be another agenda item. As many of y'all know, in the July 1, that also became a protected class within the Commonwealth in addition to social funds. So that's a good thing. Even though HUD sent out an executive order saying that they can't access housing and go to shelter services, which is crazy as heck, but that's a different issue. All right, thank you all for that discussion. And if you all have additional suggested training items, please let us know. That's one of the activities Isaiah and I will be working on is incorporating this training either within or CoC meetings or working with best practices to do a standalone type of training too. So thank you. We did receive a request, and this is just information in regard to from Department of Housing and Community Development. They were interested in getting a list of all the faith-based agencies or partners that we have. If you're willing and able, if you can send a list to Isaiah, that would be great, so he can compile and respond to the information request. I think they just want to be aware of who our partners are. And we have tremendous faith-based partners throughout our COC. So we would like to recognize them. They also would like to know which hotels, motels that we are using in our hotel motel voucher program. They want to have a list of that. They want to be able to, in case the congregate shelters are unable to be able to do that, have a list of potential hotel motels that that they can be able to contact and be able to see if they can place people. Those information requests came just the other day. So I think if possible, if we could have that information by Monday, that would be great. I think that meets that time frame that they want to have it back. So thank you all for your assistance in regard to responding to that information request. And Isaiah may send out a reminder here Friday in regard to sending that out. I know that some of you are all working on coming up with that list. So we appreciate that. So we went through our agenda at this point. Is there anything else or any other announcements that anyone wants to share for the group?
Michael, I just wanted to give some good news. I talked to the regional commission office, and it looks like the northern end of the CoC is going to receive home funds, which is TBRA funds again for next year. We had to do an application back in April or May. We'll put our request in, and it looks like they're going to be able to fulfill those requests. So we had voted in the past that when home funds came up again available, that we would put the majority of those to developing more affordable housing. But the applications that came forward weren't quite ready to be submitted within the time frame for the home funds this year. So all of the TBRA requests were filled. So that's real good news, because I think, like everyone else, that this is the calm before the storm.
Good news. Anything else? Any other comments?
I just wanted to give a quick update. It's not much of an update, but this is generally the time that our CoC grant would have been well underway. We are still waiting to hear back from HUD as to when they will be announcing the start of the NOFA process. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, we should be getting more news. They have been sending out some of their information documents that we usually get back in the spring. Those have started to come through in the past couple weeks. So I would anticipate that they are, going to be sending something out soon. I just wanted to let everyone be aware. You just haven't heard anything because we haven't heard anything, but we will be sending out announcements and information as soon as it does become available. And if you are an agency that may potentially be interested in trying to apply for funding, I would recommend going to our website. We have information about the numbers that you'll need and the login information that you'll need in order to apply for the grant. And I would also recommend just scanning last year's grant. They do change they can change each year what the CoC bonus dollars can go towards. Last year it was centralized intake. The year before it was street outreach, so that could change. But just look and see if it's something that your agency would even be eligible for, if that's something you have been thinking about. And then if so, making sure you have all the correct funding numbers that you need and log in to eSnaps.
requires a SAM number, a PIN number with eSnaps. Got to
And
register.
the DUNS number.
Yep, grants.gov. A lot of steps involved in the grant.
Yes. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability with what I know from last year's grant.
Hearing no additional announcements or comments, I do want to thank everyone for participating in today's meeting. It's great to see everyone's faces and hear from everyone. Definitely, we have some significant challenges as we move forward, but collaboratively, we can be able to address them. So that's a positive thing. Thank you all. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye.
See y'all later.